Next, Alan McClain reports on State Proposition 102, sponsored by right-wing anti-gay Congressman William Dannemeyer.
Proposition 102 would change AIDS testing and reporting in California. It would eliminate confidential testing. It would, for the first time, allow employers and insurance companies to require AIDS virus tests and require the reporting of names of anyone who tests positive for the HIV virus. C.A.N. spoke with a No on 102 volunteer.
First of all, if you allow this to be passed, it would automatically take away anonymous testing. And without that protection, a lot of people who should come in or who are thinking about coming in for the test would probably not come in because of fear of discrimination by employers and insurance companies. Because if this does pass and their names are turned in, the insurance companies as well as employers would have access to those names and possibly use that information to deny insurance and employment. We're trying to secure an environment of trust for people to come in and feel comfortable and secure to come in for this test to find out what their status is. And we're trying to protect their rights on that level. Mandatory testing, it's sort of a reactionary approach. My feeling is it's not the most productive way to go. It'll be very costly also. Fiscally speaking, it may run into the billions of dollars to try to test people on a general, broad manner.
Of 96 and 102 argue that we test routinely for many other socially transmitted and sexually transmitted diseases, and yet we ignore testing for a deadly disease, and that seems somehow irrational.
I think the difference between this particular disease, AIDS, and other diseases, there's also the moral implications. And also, I think in this case, AIDS is not curable at this point. There's no cure for AIDS. And that takes on a whole different connotation. With syphilis, for example, gonorrhea, for example, there's a cure. It's manageable. You can take care of it. So people aren't as threatened by it anymore. TB, for example, these diseases have been able to be contained. They're curable. With AIDS, you can't cure it. So it's like it's out of control. When people are afraid of it, they react to it. They're terrified, and they get these terrified ideas about how to contain it. And we feel that what we have to do is educate people, everybody, people that have AIDS, people that are HIV positive, people that don't have AIDS, educate them with the facts, let them know exactly what's going on to the best of our ability. And that way they'll feel more comfortable and secure with these issues. AIDS has to be looked at in a rational, logical, reasonable manner.
With the active support of his right-wing anti-gay cohort, Congressman Robert Dornan, Mr. Dannemeyer tried to push the same 102 proposal through Congress recently in a House amendment. He wanted his California strategy of name reportability, non-confidentiality, and contact tracing of sexual partners adopted at the national level.
The reportability in confidence to public health authorities of patients with a curable venereal disease. But except for 12 states in the Union, we do not follow the same policy for a non-curable venereal disease like the virus for AIDS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, since I last came to the well on this issue, I found out that a beloved member of my family may be dying of AIDS, one of my in-laws. It's not going to change my approach one little bit. Let's stop wasting time and get the reporting and handle this as a public health issue. The time of the gentleman has expired.
The idea of this amendment has been rejected by the National Governors Association, the National Governors Association, the American Medical Association, the American Nurses Association, the American Hospital Association, the Catholic Health Association, the National Conference of State Legislatures. It was rejected by Secretary Bowen in his testimony to us.
I urge all of you to join me in a vote against the Dannemeyer Amendment requiring mandatory reporting by name because I say to you that it will be of absolutely no public health benefit.
Studies have shown that the reporting of names discourages people from being tested. When Oregon, my home state, for example, eliminated its requirement that names be reported, the number of homosexual men being tested went up 125%.
On this vote, the yeas are 70 and the nays are 327, and the amendment is not agreed to.
William Dannemeyer's AIDS bill was overwhelmingly defeated in the House, but his identical proposition on the California ballot appears to be heavily favored by voters in the latest polls. We can only hope the citizens of California wake up before it's too late. Vote no on Proposition 102. Proposition 96, another ill-conceived AIDS proposition, would require mandatory testing and reporting of California prisoners, so-called sex offenders, and prostitutes. Vote no on Proposition 96.
Are you confused with all the insurance initiatives? Remember, there is only one proposed by consumers and endorsed by Ralph Nader. Vote yes on 103. One of the easiest choices this election year is the selection for U.S. Senator. Pete Wilson has quite a voting record. Boy, does he. He consistently votes with the right wing against California's interest. Let's take California's Senate seat away from South Carolina and Jesse Helms and give it back to Californians. Vote for Leo McCarthy for the U.S. Senate.